This is Balaam, a man paid to speak on behalf of gods, any god, depending on who was paying. And right now, he is furious at an animal that has just done something no animal should be able to do. 3 times on this road, the donkey will refuse to move forward. 3 times, Balaam will beat it. And 3 times, the donkey will be right. And the prophet, the professional hearer of divine voices, will be completely blind. The stick comes down. The donkey bolts sideways into a field, crushing Balaam's leg against a low stone wall as it passes. He cries out, more in anger than pain, and strikes it again. Then, the donkey goes rigid, lies down flat in the middle of the narrow path, and will not be moved by force or fury. Balaam raises the stick a 3rd time, and the donkey speaks. What have I done to you, that you have struck me these 3 times? Silence. Balaam does not scream. He does not flinch in disbelief. He answers the animal as if this were an ordinary argument, because his fury has completely overridden the impossibility of the moment. Balaam, because you have made a fool of me. If I had a sword, I would kill you where you stand. Am I not the same donkey you have ridden your whole life? Have I ever done this to you before? Balaam has no answer. And then his eyes open. Not physically. Something else opens. Standing in the road, directly in the donkey's path, is a figure Balaam could not see until this exact second. The angel of the Lord, sword drawn, blocking the way entirely. The donkey saw the sword 3 times. The prophet, the man who claimed to speak with God, saw nothing at all until God chose to let him. To understand how a paid prophet ended up on this road, blind to what his own animal could see, we have to go back 3 days earlier to a king who was terrified of an enemy he had never even fought. This is Israel, 40 years out of Egypt, battle-hardened, wandering, enormous, and terrifying to anyone standing in their path. Balak had watched this nation defeat the Amorites, a people Moab itself had once lost territory to. If Israel could beat them, Balak had no illusions about what would happen to Moab. Balak, this horde will lick up everything around us, the way an ox licks up the grass of the field. He turns to his council of elders, and to the elders of Midian, allied with him in this fear. We cannot beat them with swords. Find me a man whose words carry weight with the gods. Find me Balaam. Balaam's reputation had traveled far beyond his hometown of Pethor, near the Euphrates. He was known, respected, and feared for one specific skill. Those he blessed prospered. Those he cursed suffered. Kings paid enormous sums for his services, because in a world without armies large enough to guarantee victory, a well-placed curse felt like insurance. Balak didn't need Moab to win a war against Israel. He just needed Israel weakened enough that it would look elsewhere for conquest. Balak's messengers, the elders of Moab and Midian, depart that same night, carrying with them the tools of Balaam's trade. Payment for divination, already in hand, already assuming the answer would be yes. They rode east, toward a man they assumed could be bought, because, by every account they'd ever heard, he always had been. Night falls over Pethor. The elders of Moab and Midian arrive at Balaam's home, presenting Balak's message and, more pointedly, Balak's payment. Moabite elder, a nation has come out of Egypt. It covers the face of the earth, and it has settled next to us. Come, curse this people for us, for I know that whoever you bless is blessed, and whoever you curse is cursed. Balaam listens carefully. He does not answer immediately, which itself tells us something about who he is. This is a business transaction to him, and every good businessman consults his sources before naming a price. Balaam, stay here tonight, and I will bring back to you whatever answer the Lord gives me. Notice something curious here. Balaam, a foreign diviner with no covenant relationship to Israel's God, still refers to him by name. He knows exactly who he's dealing with. He simply assumes, like everyone assumes about power, that the right offer changes the answer. That night, God speaks to Balaam directly. No ambiguity, no riddle. Who are these men with you? Balaam explains the request. God's answer is immediate and absolute. Do not go with them. Do not curse this people, for they are blessed. Morning comes. Balaam delivers the answer to Balak's elders plainly. The Lord has refused to let him come. This should be the end of the story. A clear no, delivered honestly, on the very first night. If this were the whole story, Balaam would be remembered simply as a man who refused a fortune out of obedience. But Balak does not accept no easily, and neither, it turns out, does Balaam. The elders return to Moab empty-handed. Balak's reaction is immediate. He sends a second delegation larger, more prestigious, carrying a far greater reward. Let nothing hinder you from coming to me, for I will honor you richly and do whatever you say. Only come and curse this people for me. Balaam gives his second envoys the same pious-sounding line. Balaam, even if Balak gave me his house full of silver and gold, I could not do anything, great or small, contrary to the command of the Lord my God. It's a good line. It sounds like conviction. But notice what he does next. He doesn't send them home. He asks them to stay the night, so that I may find out what else the Lord will say to me. He'd already been told, plainly, directly. There was no ambiguity in the first answer, but a bigger offer was now on the table, and suddenly, the same question was worth asking twice. That night, God speaks again, but this time the answer shifts. Since these men have come to summon you, go with them, but do only what I tell you. This is not a reversal of the moral instruction. It's a permission granted to a man whose heart had already revealed where it wanted to go. And that distinction between what God permits and what God actually wants is about to become the most dangerous gap in Balaam's life. Morning, Balaam saddles his donkey and sets out with the Moabite officials. And this is where our story catches back up to where we began. Balaam rides out at dawn, and immediately, startlingly, we're told God's anger burns against him for going. This is one of the strangest tensions in the entire story. God permitted this trip the night before, and yet is furious that Balaam took it. The permission was never the same as the endorsement. Balaam had been given room to walk toward a choice his own greed had already made, and God's anger reveals that the room was a test, not an approval. We now return to the scene from our cold open, but this time, we understand everything Balaam couldn't see. The angel of the Lord stands in the road, sword drawn, invisible to human eyes, but plainly visible to the donkey beneath him. The donkey sees the sword and swerves off the path into a field. Balaam, seeing nothing except a stubborn animal ruining his dignified departure, beats it back onto the road. The angel repositions, this time in a narrow passage between two vineyard walls, leaving no room to pass around. The donkey, again seeing what its rider cannot, presses itself against the wall to avoid the blade, crushing Balaam's foot in the process. Pain sharpens Balaam's fury rather than his awareness. He strikes the animal again, still seeing nothing but disobedience where there was, in fact, the only appropriate response to a very real threat. The angel moves a third time, to a place so narrow there's no space left to swerve at all. The donkey simply lies down. 3 warnings, 3 acts of protection, mistaken for defiance. Balaam raises his stick a third time, and the donkey speaks. What have I done to you, that you have struck me these 3 times? Balaam, you have made a fool of me. If I had a sword in my hand, I would kill you right now. Am I not your own donkey, which you have ridden all your life? To this day, have I ever treated you this way before? Balaam quietly, no. It's worth sitting in that moment. A man whose entire profession is hearing from the divine has just been outperceived by his own pack animal, and even then, it takes one more moment before his eyes are actually opened. The Lord opens Balaam's eyes. He sees the angel, sword still drawn, blocking the path entirely. Balaam falls face down on the ground. Angel of the Lord says, "Why have you struck your donkey these 3 times? I have come here to oppose you, because your path is reckless before me. The donkey saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. If it had not turned away, I would certainly have killed you by now. but I would have spared it. Balaam, face still in the dirt, offers something close to an apology, though notice how it's framed. Balaam, I have sinned. I did not realize you were standing in the road to oppose me. If you are displeased, I will go back. Even here, even after being physically confronted by a sword-wielding angel, Balaam's instinct is transactional. If you're upset, I'll turn around. Not, I understand now why this journey was wrong. Just tell me the terms, and I'll comply with them. Angel of the Lord, go with the men, but speak only what I tell you. The same instruction as before. Nothing has changed about what Balaam is permitted to do. What's changed is that now, at least for a moment, he understands exactly how close he came to not surviving his own blindness. Balaam continues on toward Moab. Balak rides out personally to meet Balaam at the border, impatience and desperation barely concealed. Balak, did I not send messengers to summon you? Why didn't you come to me sooner? Am I really not able to reward you? Balaam, I have come to you now, but I have no power to say anything of my own. I can only speak the word God puts in my mouth. It's a warning Balak doesn't fully register, or chooses not to. He's paid too much, planned too carefully, to believe the answer could actually be no. Balak brings Balaam to Bamithbal, a high place overlooking the outer edge of the Israelite camp, close enough to see them, but not the full extent of their number. Notice the strategy here. Balak deliberately limits what Balaam can see, as if a curse might work better against a partial view of the threat. 7 altars are built. 7 bulls and 7 rams are sacrificed. An enormous, costly ritual, repeated 3 separate times throughout this story, each time in a different location, as if changing the scenery might change the divine verdict. Balaam withdraws alone to a barren height, seeking an encounter with God. When he returns, Balak waits eagerly beside his officials, expecting a curse. Instead, Balaam speaks an oracle. Balak brought me from the mountains of the east to curse Jacob, to denounce Israel. But how can I curse those God has not cursed? How can I denounce those the Lord has not denounced? I see a people who camp apart, a nation counted among no other. Who can count the dust of Jacob, or number even a fraction of Israel? Let me die the death of the righteous, and may my final end be like theirs. Balak's face falls somewhere between disbelief and rage. Balak, what have you done to me? I brought you to curse my enemies, and instead you have done nothing but bless them. Balaam, must I not speak exactly what the Lord puts in my mouth? Balak's response to failure is telling. He doesn't consider that the outcome might be fixed. He assumes the problem is geography. Balak takes Balaam to the field of Zophim, on top of Pisgah, a different vantage point, again showing him only part of the Israelite camp. 7 more altars, 7 more sacrifices. Again, Balaam withdraws, returns, and delivers a second oracle, this one sharper, more direct. Balaam, God is not a man, that he should lie, nor a son of man, that he should change his mind. Does he speak, and then not act? Does he promise, and not fulfill? I have received a command to bless. He has blessed, and I cannot reverse it. No misfortune is seen in Jacob, no misery observed in Israel. The Lord their God is with them. The shout of a king is among them. God brought them out of Egypt. They have the strength of a wild ox. There is no evil omen against Jacob, no divination against Israel. This line is worth sitting with. God is not a man, that he should change his mind. Balak keeps trying to negotiate an outcome as though the divine verdict were as flexible as a business deal. It isn't, and Balaam, whether he likes it or not, has become the mouthpiece proving that to him. Oracle after oracle, Balak, in visible desperation, tries once more, moving Balaam to the top of Peor, overlooking the wasteland, hoping perhaps that yet another location will yield yet another chance at a different result. This time, something shifts. Balaam doesn't even go looking for omens the way he had the first 2 times. He simply turns his face toward the full camp of Israel, spread out below him in its entirety, tribe by tribe, and something in him settles. Balaam, how beautiful are your tents, Jacob. Your dwelling places, Israel, like valleys spreading out, like gardens beside a river, like aloes the Lord has planted, like cedars beside the waters. Blessed is everyone who blesses you, and cursed is everyone who curses you. Balak's fury finally breaks past diplomacy. Balak, I summoned you to curse my enemies, and instead you have blessed them 3 times. Now leave. Go home. I said I would reward you richly, but the Lord has denied you that reward. Balaam, did I not tell your messengers from the start? Even if you gave me your palace filled with silver and gold, I could not do anything of my own accord, good or bad, that goes beyond the Lord's command. I can only say what the Lord says. And then, almost as a parting shot, Balaam delivers one final oracle, unprompted this time. No altars, no sacrifices, no ritual requested. A prophecy about a future king, a star out of Jacob, a scepter out of Israel, a promise stretching far beyond the immediate conflict into a future neither Balak nor Balaam would live to see. By every external measure, Balaam did the right thing here. 4 times, under enormous financial and political pressure, he spoke only truth. He refused to bend the message for profit. If the story ended here, this would be a story about integrity under pressure. It doesn't end here. Balaam departs, and for a moment, the story seems finished. A paid prophet who, despite every incentive to lie, told the truth 4 times over. But later texts in the Bible add a darker postscript to this story, one that reframes everything we just watched. The scene shifts. Later, at Baal-peor, Israelite men begin intermingling with Moabite and Midianite women, drawn into their religious feasts and the worship of foreign gods. A plague breaks out among the Israelite camp as a result, a devastating toll, tens of thousands lost. Later scripture, the book of Numbers, and much later, the book of Revelation, traces this disaster back to a piece of advice attributed to Balaam himself. He could not curse Israel directly. God had made that impossible, 4 times over, in front of witnesses. But if a direct curse wouldn't work, there was still a quieter way to cause harm. Encourage the very temptation that could unravel a people from the inside. Not a spiritual weapon aimed outward, but a moral trap set from within. What God had made impossible through confrontation, Balaam appears to have tried to accomplish through seduction and compromise instead. And this is the detail that changes how we should understand every oracle we just watched him speak. Balaam never lost his battle with God. 4 times, he told the truth exactly as commanded. But somewhere underneath that obedience, something else was still operating. A mind still looking for the angle, still looking for the version of yes, hiding inside every no. Later, when Israel goes to war against Midian, Balaam is found among the Midianites, not as a bystander, but as a casualty of the very conflict his counsel is said to have helped provoke. The New Testament remembers him this way too, not primarily as a prophet who spoke true words, but as a warning label. Peter's second letter speaks of those who have left the straight way and wandered off to follow the way of Balaam, who loved the wages of wickedness. Jude calls out those who, for profit, rushed headlong into Balaam's error. Revelation accuses a corrupted church of holding to the teaching of Balaam, who taught Balak to entice the Israelites into sin. 3 separate books, written centuries apart, all pointing back to the same man, not for the moment he obeyed on the mountaintop, but for whatever he did afterward, quietly, off the record, once the cameras, so to speak, had stopped rolling. We return, one final time, to the image that opened this story. A donkey standing frozen in the road, a sword-bearing angel invisible to the man riding it, a prophet, hired for his ability to perceive what others couldn't, needed his own animal to see what he was blind to. That image was never really about the road to Moab. It was a preview of the entire story. Balaam heard God's voice clearly, more than once, more clearly than almost anyone else in the Old Testament outside Israel itself. He obeyed the letter of every single instruction on that mountaintop, for separate times, under enormous financial pressure. And still, by every account that follows him afterward, he is remembered as a warning, not an example, because the most dangerous kind of disobedience was never the loud kind. The kind that refuses outright, that curses when it's told to bless, that ignores a direct command. That kind is easy to spot, and Balaam never did that. The dangerous kind is quieter. It's asking the same question twice, hoping a better offer changes the answer. It's technically obeying the words, while still hunting for a side door the words didn't cover. It's a heart that keeps negotiating with a verdict that was never actually up for negotiation. The donkey saw the sword 3 times and stopped. The prophet needed to be knocked to the ground before he saw anything at all. The question worth sitting with isn't whether we'd recognize an angel with a drawn sword standing in our path. It's whether we'd recognize ourselves in a man too busy negotiating a better outcome to notice it was already there.